by John C. Maxwell. All right, and in this review, we're going to be looking at chapter 3, which is titled, If You Failed, Are You a Failure? Failure isn't so bad if it doesn't attack the heart. Success is all right if it doesn't get to the head, says Grantland Rice. Okay, so in this chapter 3, you need to ask yourself this very important question to say that if you have failed before, does that make you a failure? Right, I guess not. There was this advice columnist who was asked one question that people used to ask her frequently. And then she said that question was, what's wrong with me? So many people would often ask her this question, what is wrong with me? And this is because many people wrestle with feelings of failure. You still can't hear me. What's going on? Let me remove this. Is it sound better now? You can hear me? Okay. Thank you. That means I'll do without my microphone tonight. All right. So many people wrestle with feelings of failure, the most damaging being doubtful thoughts about themselves. And at the heart of those doubts and feelings is one central question: am I a failure? Just because something did not go well in their lives, they keep asking themselves, am I a failure? And that is the problem, because it is almost impossible for any person to believe he is a failure and fail forward at the same time. If you believe that you're a failure, then it means that you cannot make progress at the same time. The two of them cannot coexist. And the fact that you make a mistake once or twice or even 3 times still does not make you a failure if you do not feel defeated. So keeping a good perspective of yourself is very, very important to overcoming adversity and mistakes, irrespective of what you go through. If you are able to maintain a positive spirit, to keep your head high, to keep hope alive, then you cannot be defeated. You are going to overcome regardless of any adversity that you may be going through. Right. There is the story of a woman here, may her soul rest in peace, the late Emma Bombeck, who wrote a widely syndicated weekly humor column until a few weeks before her death. She did great things, even though she faced adversity in life, right? She traveled a road that was filled with adversity, starting with her career. You know, when she was in Ohio University, a guidance, a counselor told her that she should forget about writing. But then she refused. She did not listen to this counselor. She transferred to another institution and she graduated with a degree in English. She became a writer. She started doing very well. But then this adversity in her career, based on the fact that a counselor had told her that she would not be successful in writing, and at some point in her career she actually experienced adversity, but the adversity did not end with her career. Even in her personal life, she experienced adversity. When she got married, one of her deepest desires was to have children of her own. But then when she and her husband visited the doctor and they were told that she couldn't bear children, she was really devastated. But she did not give up. In spite of that, she did not consider herself to be a failure. She and her husband sat down, they thought about their options, and they decided to adopt a child, which they did. 2 years later, she was shocked to find out that she was pregnant. But that joy was also not full, because she went ahead to become pregnant 4 times and only had 2 surviving babies. That means that she either had miscarriages or she had stillbirth. So out of the 4 pregnancies, Only two of the children survived. Even at that, she still did not see herself as a failure. And now, coming back to her career, there was a time that she was not doing well in her career at all. You know that, especially as a woman, and I can relate. As a woman, you really have ambitions, you want to fly high, you want to do this and that, and you get married. When you get married and the children have not started coming, you're still able to jump here and there, do the things that you want to do. But the moment you get pregnant, God now help you that your own pregnancy is full of morning sickness, like I experienced in my first pregnancy with my daughter. The morning sickness was so terrible. I did not get myself. All the ambition and everything that I had, they had to just go to one corner, because you're always feeling sick. And this was my case. I was always feeling sick. I did not enjoy myself. Imagine eating and you throw up every time. Even when I drank water, I would throw up and things like that. So I guess she also had a slowdown in her career, and there was a time she really wanted to bounce back in her career, and she approached this a magazine or a newspaper, and they offered her a pitiful $3 for her to write in a column, but she still accepted it. She kept on writing, she kept on doing her best. Is my sound clear? Can you hear me? Please, I need feedback. She kept on doing her best. She would write three times a week column for her old employer. And no, before that, okay, thank you very much. Before that, she kept on writing, even though she was being paid $3, which was very, very meager. But then, because she kept on doing it, an opportunity came for her. A big job was opened onto her, and her old employer, decided to re-engage her, and they were paying her well. So for slightly more than 30 years, she wrote a humor column. She published 15 books during this time. She was recognized as one of the 25 most influential women in America. She appeared frequently on the television show Good Morning America. She was featured on the cover of Time magazine. She received innumerable honors, such as the American Cancer Society's Medal of Honor, and was awarded 15 honorary degrees, even though she had a setback in her career, in her marriage, and in her personal life. But that was not the end. In spite of all these achievements, she still battled illness. At a point, she battled cancer, breast cancer. She had mastectomy. She battled kidney failure. And she was not shy about sharing her experiences. She battled so many things, but she did not give up. She still did not consider herself a failure. She said, what you have to tell yourself is, I'm not a failure. I failed at doing something. There is a big difference. Personally and career-wise, it's been a corduroy road. I've buried babies, lost parents, had cancer, and worried over kids. The trick is to put it all in perspective, and that is what I do for a living. So the point of view that Emma Bombeck had made her to be down to earth. Right? She was humble. She saw life as an opportunity, as a privilege. She did not take all of her adversities personally, and this kept her going. She kept on writing in spite of all her disappointments, kidney dialysis, cancer treatment, surgeries, and all of that. And she kept on writing, doing all of this until her death at the age of 69. So even though she failed at some things, she had her own share of challenges, but she never saw herself as a failure. Now let us look at, before then, there is this subheading here that says, every genius could have been a failure. Every successful person is someone who failed, yet never regarded himself as a failure. There is a difference between you failing at something and you concluding that you're a failure in life. I think it is safe to say that all great achievers are given multiple reasons to believe that they are failures. But in spite of that, they persevere in the face of adversity, rejection, and failings. They continue believing in themselves and refuse to consider themselves as failures. Failing forward is not false self-esteem. It doesn't have to do with ego. It doesn't have to do with denial. It doesn't have to do with false confidence. There is a scenario here of a time in the United States of America when students were not doing very well at school. There was a decline in their grades. They were not passing as they should. The failure record was really high. And the educators thought, okay, what can we do to help these children improve their ability to succeed at school? So they thought to puff up the self-esteem of these children, because according to a theory, it was believed that high achievers possessed confidence. So these educators thought that, okay, let us pump some confidence into the students. This will help them to start doing well at school. So they decided to adopt that theory. But then it did not succeed. That theory did not succeed, because instead of these students now doing well, now that they have confidence, this confidence got into their heads and they started exhibiting started to not pay attention to excellence. They didn't have the ability to overcome adversity. They became aggressive towards people who criticized them. They were too confident in themselves. Too much of, what will I call it? High ego. They battled high ego because they had confidence, they thought that, oh, they knew it all. And so that did not work out. So the author is saying that we shouldn't praise people for doing nothing. Even though he placed high value on praising people, especially children, but he believed that people have to live up to expectation. Don't just praise people falsely. Don't give people false self-esteem because you want them to feel good about themselves, or because you want them to do something outside of what they have the ability to do. Rather, praise people based on truth. Before you praise anybody, make sure that the person merits it. So don't give anybody any false hope. Don't inflate their ego of self-confidence. So what he would do, this is the author's approach. He valued people, he praised people's efforts, and he rewarded performance. And he also applied this to his personal life, even though he would also do that to everybody. He said that he would give himself a reward only after he was done doing a job. He would give this job his very best, and no matter what the results are, he would have a clear conscience. He would not feel guilty about it. So if you try to do something, still give yourself a pat on the back. Remember, we read yesterday that you should judge your ability based on the results that you have, but on the process. You should feel good about yourself that you even attempted something, irrespective of the outcome of that thing, whether it failed or it succeeded. It still doesn't make you a failure. You have only learned how not to do it, right? As the saying goes, God uses people who fail because there aren't any other kind around. The fact that you fail does not mean that you still cannot do great things in life. Now let us look at 7 abilities needed to fail forward. These 7 abilities of achievers enable them to fail, but then they do not take this failure personally. They keep moving forward. What is the number 1 ability? Achievers reject rejection. A man is literally what he thinks. His character being the complete sum of his thoughts. So you cannot rise above your thoughts. If you think that you're a rejected fellow, then that is it. You cannot rise above your thoughts. If you think that you are poor, then that is it. Nobody can talk you out of that mindset. So what do you think of yourself? What are your thoughts? What occupies your mind? Every now and again. That is why it is important to make sure that your thinking is on the right track. Stop thinking failure. Stop thinking poverty. Stop thinking rejection. Right? If you do something and you don't succeed at it, you have two options. The number one option is to internalize it and say, oh, I'm a failure, I'm a rejected fellow, I am poor, and keep crying like a crybaby. That means you have internalized the failure, you have come to adopt it. The second option is to externalize it. If you externalize it, then it means that you don't take it personally, right? You keep the right perspective. Accept responsibilities for your action, but then don't take failure personally. What is the number two ability needed to fail forward? Achievers see failure as temporary. It is never a permanent thing. Failure is not a stigma. It is just a process. It is not a one-time event. The fact that you failed at business does not make you a failure, because your marriage may still be successful. You may be a good mom or a good father, but because that your business did not succeed, then you judge yourself as failure. It is only a temporary thing. It is not an event. Failure is a process. There is a very good example here of the case of the United States President Harry S. Truman. In 1922, when he was 38 years old, he was in debt. He was out of work in 1922. His life was nothing to write home about. But then, in 1945, 23 years after, he was the most powerful leader of the free world, occupying the highest office in the land of America. If he had seen failure as permanent, he would have remained stuck and never would have kept trying and believing in his potential. Number three ability that will help you to fail forward is this. Achievers see failure as isolated incidents, right? Don't panic because you failed at something. Try to isolate situations to say that, okay, I succeeded in my academics, even though I failed at business, even though I'm not a good reader, even though I am not, somebody who likes to exercise, but I have a kind heart. I give to people. Look at those things that you're good at. Isolate situations. Treat every situation based on its merits or demerits. Stop grouping things together and concluding that you're a failure. When achievers fail, they see it as a momentary event, not a lifelong epidemic. It is not personal. If you want to succeed, don't let any single event color your view of yourself. Number four, achievers keep expectations realistic. So look at what you can do. Don't bite more than you can chew. This does not mean that you now be doing below standard. Try to challenge yourself, but at every point in time, set realistic expectations, right? Set little goals per time. It takes effort, time, and the ability to overcome setbacks, right? Don't see obstacles as something that will remain permanent. Try to persevere. Set realistic expectations. Once you hit one, move on to the next one and keep going like that. And even if you don't finish the task that you have set before yourself, still give yourself a pat on the back. That is how to have the right attitude, if you ask me, the right perspective, so that we will not take anything personally. Don't lose your sleep because we're not able to achieve that task. Tomorrow is another day. Just be praying that God will spare you, and then you try again the next day. Another ability of those who fail forward is this. Achievers focus on strengths. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. So focus on your strengths. Stop comparing your life with those who are doing something better than you. They may not be able to do what you are able to do. So the fact that you cannot do what that person is doing does not make you a failure. Does not make you a failure. Focus on your strengths. Work on your strengths. And I like one thing that the author said here. Let me look at it. If your weakness is a matter of character, then by all means pay attention to it, because this is not a justification to say, oh, my strength is not in greeting people, or I am weak at rudeness is my weakness, something like that. I talk to people anyhow, I am disrespectful, it's just my weakness, I can't help it. No, if it has to do with character, by all means work on it. The weakness or the strength we are talking of here has to do with your ability. or your capability, what you can do, one thing that you are good at, right? Focus on that. You can improve on the things that you're not good at, but don't dwell too much on your weaknesses in such a way that it is now clouding your sense of judgment. All you see is your weakness. You are not looking at the fact that, oh, you're a very good reader or you're a fantastic writer. You're only looking at the fact that you are not eloquent when it comes to speaking. So don't judge yourself like that. Number 6, achievers vary approaches to achievements. The summary I can give you about this is that vary your strategies. Somebody once said, it is insane to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you try something one way and it doesn't work, try another way. Vary your strategies. Don't be dogmatic. Don't be rigid. Try to be flexible. The author says an average, no, not the author, in the Psychology of Achievement, Brian Tracy writes about 4 millionaires who made their fortunes by age 35. And do you know what was peculiar to these people? They tried their businesses on the average 17 times. That means they tried 17 businesses before actually finding the one that worked. So in other words, we can say that they failed almost 17 times. So they kept on trying different approaches. Okay, this one does not work. Let me try another approach. They were not dogmatic. They did not say because this one did not work and then they stopped trying. Achievers are willing to vary their approaches to problems. That is important in every walk of life, not just business, right? If you try to do something now and it doesn't work, try it another way. Have you heard of Thomas Edison? He failed tens of thousands of times, almost 10,000 times, right? Before he eventually got it right. Number 7, achievers bounce back. All achievers have in common the ability to bounce back after an error, mistake, or failure. Life is a series of outcomes. Sometimes the outcome is what you want. Great. Figure out what you did right. And sometimes the outcome is what you don't want. It is still great. Figure out what you did not do right and do it again. And don't do it again. Whatever you did not do right, don't do it again. That is the key to bouncing back. You should always have the ability to move forward. Don't stay dejected at a spot. If you started a business and you lost money or you put your money in an investment, it did not work out. The fact that you are even bold enough to take that risk, right, shows that you are somebody that is willing to make progress. Don't avoid risks. We were told by Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rather, manage your risks. So running away from problems is not going to get you anywhere. Face your problem, your giant, headlong. Now let's look at the story of one who refused to be a failure. And this is Daniel Rudy Rotiga. He really wanted to become a footballer. He really wanted to. He wanted to play in a very popular league. But then his physique, his physical appearance did not look like it rather, but his heart really yearned after it. This guy failed in school. He later succeeded in school, but then he would say about himself that, let me read the exact words. He said that his grade showed less promise than his physique. He would always say about himself, I finished third in my class. But this is not third from the top. It is third from the bottom. So if they were 30 in the class, that means it was number 27, right? But that did not stop him. He really wanted to become a great footballer, and he did become a great footballer. He was accepted into this popular league that he wanted to play for. He did everything that he could do. He practiced, he read. People told him that he would not do it. People tried to discourage him. They said all kinds of words to him to bring down his spirit. But he was undeterred. He was so determined. And he became successful to the point that a movie was made about him. A movie was made about him, was titled after him, to show his determination, to show how somebody can really overcome adversity, irrespective of what anybody is saying. So this is the kind of spirit I want us to imbibe, because challenges are going to come. You're going to fail at something in life. There is nobody who is a high achiever or who is successful who has never failed at something in life. It is just that a lot of times we pay attention to people's success stories. We don't pay attention to their failure stories. Maybe if we start paying attention and asking them, how did you fail at that thing? What did you do wrong? Instead of asking, what did you do right? Then we will observe that people actually fail at a lot of things. Maybe we should take Dangote as an example and his recent venture into the refinery. I'm sure he had so many sleepless nights. There was a time people were coming out, making a case for him why the Nigerian government should consider tapping into his refinery, buying from him instead of importing crude oil. And was going from here to there, trying to sort out the problem. After spending so much money to build that refinery, now you're not getting the government to buy from you. How are you going to sell? What happens to that huge investment? So I can only imagine that he had sleepless nights. But did anybody really think of what Dangote was going through? All that people would see was, the richest man in Africa. Big boy. He's doing so well. He's rich. But we're not there when he's having sleepless nights. We are not there when he's going through all of these obstacles and facing adversity. We are not there. We don't pay attention to the failure stories, right? To the main challenges that people face behind the scene. We all like the glamour. We all like, the standing ovation and all of that. So don't be ashamed of your failure. Don't be ashamed of any obstacle. It is a part of life. Own it. Admit it. What is important is that you don't remain at the same spot, right? Keep going. Keep moving ahead. Now, this is your third step to failing forward. And this is where we're going to end this chapter 3. Remove the you from failure. Remove yourself from failure. View failure as an isolated situation. View failure as something that is separate. Don't take it personally. If you take it personally and you wallow in it, that is when you actually become a failure. So if you've been thinking of yourself as a failure, you can break yourself out of that negative thinking pattern. Look at an area of your life where you have repeatedly failed and do the following. Number 1, examine your expectations for that area. Write them down. Are they realistic? Maybe you're trying to do something that is not realistic. You're trying to juggle too many things at the same time, and your body cannot carry it. Your faith cannot carry it. So calm down. Set realistic expectations per time. Do you expect to do everything perfectly? Do you expect to succeed on the first try? How many mistakes should you expect to make before you succeed? So adjust your expectations. There is a program that I was planning to do in January. Just yesterday, I was thinking through it and I'm like, I'm going to cancel this. I know I'm very, very ambitious. I like to push myself, right? But I just sat down and thought about it. I'm biting more than I can chew. I'm going to drop this. I'm going to push it. I'm not foregoing it. I'm only going to push it until maybe like mid next year. I want to give myself enough time to think about it, to plan for it. Because I have too many things on my plate right now. And if I'm going to add that major event to it, it might break me. So that is me expecting too much of myself. And sometimes if you expect too much of yourself and that thing does not work out, you see yourself as a failure. But don't forget the flesh. Don't forget the human nature. Don't forget your ability. Don't forget your strength and your stamina. Right? Set realistic expectation. Challenge yourself. Push yourself as much as you can. But don't break yourself because you want to achieve a goal. Number 2, find new ways to do your work. Brainstorm at least 20 new approaches and then try at least half of them. This thing that is not succeeding, how else can I do it? Maybe you just need to change your approach. Number 3, focus on your strengths. How can you use your best skills and personal strengths to maximize your efforts? Focus on your strength. If you are very good at talking, now work more on that. Do more of that. It doesn't mean that you neglect the other things. You can be improving on that, but highlight those things that you are very good at. Number 4, vow to bounce back. No matter how many times you fall down, pick yourself up and keep going. Don't wait until you feel positive to move forward. Act your way into feeling good. That is the only way to start thinking more positively about yourself. Don't wait until everything feels right. You feel like it, you want the condition to be perfect. Push yourself into it. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of today's review, the review of chapter 3. Tomorrow, by God's grace, we're going to be reviewing chapter 4, which is titled, You Are Too Old to Cry, But It Hurts Too Much to Laugh. This is going to be a very interesting review. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like this video, drop all of your comments, subscribe to this channel in case you're yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again tomorrow by God's grace. Until then, be intentional. Bye.